This is the FCA Williamson County podcast with me, Drew Costa, and as always, the amazing,
Don't do this every time.
the stupendous, the glorious Mr. Andrew Slack, FCA Director.
What's up?
And along with him, we have, as they call themselves, this is not me, they call themselves Dumber and Dumber. We have Josh and Gavin, who are interns for the FCA, and we'll talk to those two reprobates in a moment. But Slack, how are you doing? How is your
Yeah, it's
April
good,
been?
man. It's good to be back on here. This is episode 3. It's been a busy spring. We got a lot of events going on. We got a lot of good stuff in the schools going on. So we're just, as my staff member Michael Carson likes to say, we're like geckos on the antenna of a Ferrari going down the highway, it feels like at times. So, but no, it's been good. It's been good. We're getting closer to the end of the school year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When is that?
Like May 30th.
You ask a teacher, they got it down to the minute. I think it's 19. Some people, I think it's 19 or 20 days. So we're getting close.
Gosh. Oh, no.
I know. Feel like we just.
The roads are about to get clearer, Texas.
Yeah. Exactly.
Good stuff. So, April, any good highlights coming from any of the schools?
Yeah, we had a student-led worship night that was on Vista Ridge's campus. It was pretty rainy that week, and they made the switch, and they instead of canceling it, which would have been the easy thing to do, they just moved everybody inside. And I heard a few people that were there. There's actually some students that prayed to receive Christ that night. A lot of people were there, a lot of students. In fact, I think a couple of the interns, I think Josh or Gavin was there maybe, but I know we had staff there. And so that was awesome. I think that was a few weeks ago at Vista Ridge inside their school. A lot of our campuses are, kind of gearing up for the passing of the leadership baton. So we're, a lot of our middle schools and we're working with our middle school teachers and high school teachers to really, invite the 8th graders up to the high school and vice versa. So that kind of baton pass is happening right now in our huddles. We've got about 46 schools with an FCA huddle. So there's a lot of leadership baton passing going on right now, which is really good. That keeps the gospel coming in and the gatherings happening. And then we're just keeping our eyes peeled for those emerging leaders. So
Are you pretty confident that most schools are covered for any changes?
Yeah, we just added, I just sent out my Monday email, which side plug, if you want my Monday prayer update, subscribe. But I just sent out a Monday prayer update. We just got Cedar Ridge High School in Round Rock plugged in, which was a big prayer request. You need a teacher or a coach to say, I'll be the club sponsor. So until you get that, you really can't do an official FCA huddle. And we got that this week. So that was a big win. They're a big 6A school in Round Rock. Still kind of looking for people with like Upper Leander, Running Brushy Middle School, Rouse High School. We're looking to get that reestablished. Forbes Middle School. Won't get into it, but kind of an admin, something happened administratively. They kind of got put on pause. So we're just really, and we're taking an intentional effort to pray over every high school campus this spring. And I just got word today from our prayer warrior, Amanda Russo, shout out up in Liberty Hill. We got every high school now covered this semester. So every high school this semester is being prayed for, which is pretty cool. So, cool. Yeah, that's the update.
So you mentioned your newsletter. How do people subscribe to the newsletter, Slack?
Well, we're still working out the kinks on our website. I wish it wasn't the way.
Okay.
That wasn't the case, but you should be able to go onto our website and hit subscribe. And that gets me, then I can pull your email and get it onto our list where I send it out each week. And that's a short little prayer update. And then we do send out a monthly newsletter, which this podcast is featured on. So that's another plug there. So yeah.
Reaching the masses. We can become famous, Slack. What are you going to do once you're famous?
Oh man, probably move to Alaska and fish all
Fish
day
again.
long. Yeah,
Go back to your roots.
no, I do this for free.
Oh my gosh. So that website is fcaustin.org.
Yep, FCAAustin.org. Yeah, exactly.
And then you can get some information on other events and things that are on there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So let's give a little background to the two that you brought along with you today before we kind of bring them in and chat to these two. Who are they? What are they? And why are they important?
Do you want me to give my answers?
Okay. Yeah, go on. Give it to us straight.
Tell me what I am so I can.
Yeah. Hey, just mute them if you can.
What is that?
Yeah, we got two studs in the room. These guys are awesome. We'll make fun of them all day, but the truth is that they're doing things that I wish I could have done at their ages. That's the truth. And so, Josh and Gavin, they're both homegrown local talent. We've just developed farmhouse stuff. The farm system. They come up through the ranks. I've known them for years. Josh and Gavin might fight over this. I think I've known Josh a little longer, but.
Yeah, I cave. I'm the first.
We call Josh intern number 1 for a reason. I happily take the second position.
So you guys, okay, no more talking. You guys, they both grew up in Cedar Park, Vista Ridge High School, and Cedar Park High School. So they know this area well, and those are the schools that that's their mission field today. And so I'll let them share more of what they do, but. They're local guys. I've known them for years. I joke around and say they're usually in my house at least a couple times a week, if not more. I walked down the hallway this morning and saw Josh at my doorstep getting something. I don't know if my wife was making him a sandwich or something, but whenever they're hungry, they show up. So they're good guys. We're excited to hear from them today.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Josh, Gavin, how are you, bro? Doing good?
Great.
Great. Doing fantastic.
So we're expecting you to raise the profile of our demographic right here on this podcast. Yeah. I'm the old guy. Slack is like the rock star, and then you are the influencers.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we need your input here.
Yeah, we'll try to get the young generation on here.
Thank you. We appreciate that because we need that. We need that. So the reason you're here is because we wanted to talk about the FCA internship in Williamson County and what Slack has been sort of creating and you two have been a part of since, I guess, the very beginning, really, of this whole process. So I'm going to pass this over to Slack to kind of introduce the idea of the internship and I'd love to hear from you guys of what's kind of it's been about, what you experienced, what you expected, how maybe those expectations have been met or not. And we'll kind of see just from your experience how we can maybe give an idea for people that might be interested in participating in future interns, what they can do and how they can join this incredible program that Slack's been doing. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll just share real quickly about what the internship is from my vantage point and kind of the genesis of it. I'll just use Josh as an example. I saw a young guy that was being just really strong sense of calling into ministry, really passionate about reaching generation that Jesus changed his life. So what am I supposed to do with this now? Do I go off to college, go to a Bible college? Is there any other options? Like what do I do? As Josh and I continued to meet and to talk about these things, it just became pretty obvious that we needed to create an opportunity for young people to step into that calling and kind of discover what God had put inside them. What are their gifts? What are their strengths? Be developed as not just as a human being, but then also as a Jesus follower. So kind of like it's a lot of mentorship, but it's an opportunity for these guys to get into the schools and do what FCA is really good at doing, which is planting the gospel on campus, starting up groups, and then training those emerging leaders up to go do the same thing. And so Josh was a part of both of them were. And so I didn't have to look far to figure out who would be those potential interns to start something like this. So we kind of developed the internship program around these guys because I believe that there's more Josh and Gavins all across Williamson County. And I know that I have good reason to believe that because I know a lot of youth pastors around here and they do a great job in their youth ministries developing students. But then after they graduate, what's for them if they're feeling called towards vocational ministry or doing something out of the box, and so that's kind of how it started, and it's grown and it's morphed, and we try to just be flexible to maybe what are some of the needs and be honest about our assessment of it too. I mean, if this isn't working, then we need to adapt it and change. So, but so far it seems like it's been working from my vantage point. It's not perfect, but I'll let these guys speak to some of that. I know we've got some questions for them. Do you want me to dive into some questions? Okay, yeah. So
I want to hear this.
So Josh and Gavin, you guys, take turns answering these. You don't have to.
And be on your best behavior, lads.
Yeah, that's really difficult to ask.
Yeah, I understand.
For me.
For you.
Yeah.
For you.
That's why I'm prefacing all this. So.
For sure.
All these warnings are just for me, not for Josh.
I can edit this podcast.
Good. I don't know what I'll say.
So, I guess start with what led you guys to wanting to become an intern. Let's just start with that.
Intern number one.
Well, I know Slack mentioned a bit of it already, but as senior year was going along, I didn't really know what I wanted to do specifically. I had a couple different options. I think at the beginning of senior year, I was like, I'm building fences right now and I like physical labor, so I'll just do that. And then eventually I was like, I don't really want to have a broken back, at 30 and doing this all my life, it makes good money, but I mean, I don't want to be doing that for so long. And as I kind of just went on, I was like, I don't really know what I wanted to do. And I was just like, I like everything about Jesus, all things. And, I didn't really know if I wanted to go to a 4-year college. I ended up for one semester, deciding to do, ACC. And, at that time I was just like, well, I want to do something with, what I love about Jesus. I want to do something. And, Slack kind of just called and was like, hey, there's something, there's an opportunity here that you can come, work with me at FCA. And I was like, well, yeah, why not? Because I went throughout high school kind of wanting to have someone to look up to and have them be there for me. And, as we talked about the FCA internship, it's kind of the idea and how I saw it play out. I was like, oh, that I'm going to be able to be that for someone. Because I know throughout my high school time, I didn't have that for a while, and it only happened once, I was about to graduate soon. So I was like, I want to be able to be that for some person. So that's kind of why I wanted to do FCA.
That's good.
Yeah. For me, kind of started in high school when Jesus saved me, kind of my sophomore year summer. I was on fire, and I got saved in such a radical way from so much brokenness that I was like, everyone needs to hear this message. I can't believe I lived so long without it, and I got into so much without it. That was kind of my full dedication, but there was this underlying kind of thing that was taking my time, and really my heart was football. Wanted to be a collegiate athlete at the next level, and God kind of said, no, that's not my plan for you, by destroying my knee. And I tore it up, and I didn't get a senior year of football. And so I spent the entire senior year being discipled by Slack. But that year I got to, without football in the picture, I spent everything just for the mission. My school became my mission field, and it just made me feel alive in a way. And it just was this is exactly what I should be doing. And of course, when I was then trying to pursue the world standard of success, going to college, doing the things, God kind of did a thing like he did for my knee. He shut every single door in front of my face. And I was just empty, and I was like, I don't have the plans that I thought I was going to do. And that was whenever Slack kind of reached out to me with the internship. He said, hey, I don't know what this thing's going to become, but I want to start it, and I want you to help be one of the starters for this. And it was kind of that moment back whenever I tore up my knee of like, no, this is what God has for me all along. I just needed he needed to get me to start seeing that and stop pursuing something that doesn't have for me. And so that was kind of my journey in stepping into the internship.
That's good. So, all right. So now talk about what your expectations were going into it and how have those changed? We're laughing because obviously there's maybe been a couple changes since you started out.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, like, I didn't really have any, I don't know if I really had any expectations because I honestly had no idea what I would be doing. Because like when Slack first called me about it, I was just like, oh yeah, sure. I jumped in pretty much like almost immediately. Because in the moment I was like, this sounds like a good idea. Which it is. Not saying like that in a different way, but like I don't think I really had much of an expectation. I really didn't know what it looked like. Maybe it's like, oh, I'll just go to a school and meet some students and it'll be super easy. And
were you part of the FCA before you joined as an intern when you were in school?
Yeah, I went to FCA junior year and I was a leader my senior year. So okay. That's all I understood about FCA. I didn't even know we had FCA camps until I actually was an intern. I didn't know there was like more things outside of FCA than like the actual huddle going on in school. So I didn't really have like an idea of what anything would look like, and thinking about it was really just, I'll just, I guess, meet students and go to school with them, like go to the school where their huddle's at, and it'll be fun and easy. And I mean, that was my expectation at first, really. So
that was not mine. If I had to describe myself and me and Slack's relationship, I'm a dog on a leash. And there's been many times in my life where I will run 100 miles per hour to something, and Slack, I don't know if you've ever seen this, will take the leash and just yank it back this way, and I'm just like a dog, like yelping and like getting thrusted back. When I stepped into the internship, I wanted people to live for Jesus, and I didn't see that very much in high schools. Like I saw people claiming to be Christian, but they wouldn't live for Christ. They would kind of just put him on the side burner. And so whenever I kind of got in, like Slack can tell you, I kind of had dreams. I had visions that were like, I want to see all this stuff. And man, my first year as an intern, I made a mess. I went in and I just would, and it really, like, it was less about like what God did through me. It was what he did in me, and how he built me up to realize like, hey dude, this isn't about you. Like I've got bigger dreams than you could ever think about, but if you keep running at this speed and you don't slow down to actually cultivate good, deep relationships, you're going to make a mess of everything. And so my first year of ministry, I tried to just accomplish the world in a day. And it didn't work. So,
yeah.
So how, I guess, speak to now, what would you speak back to your 2 years ago self around expectations? Like how would you describe this internship on an expectations level?
And don't think so much about what God's going to do through you, and think about all the things he's going to do in you. Like we both look back 2 years ago and we are not the same human beings. Like, they're worried about what I'm going to say on this podcast now. Like you should have been way worried about it late before.
It took a while to get you on this thing. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so like God has been doing a amazing work through me, but he's also done an even more incredible work in me. And every single person that knew me 2 years ago, when they look at me now, it's not the same person. It's completely different. Like God has changed me from the inside out.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know how I think my expectations is kind of how I view the internship differently than, how I thought it would be, was parts of what Gavin said there's a lot of inward change that happens. I mean, It's like sometimes I can think about it. It's like I'm like when people like sculpt a marble statue or whatever. It's like imagine that, but just like a super tough material, and that's kind of how I felt like. It's like it took a long time. It's like start chipping away and like things like it's still I'm still chipping away.
Yes.
But that as like there's a lot of inward change that happens, but more like operationally and how it looks like. I think my expectations changed to where like I feel like I am and I'm not like I am doing more than like what I thought I would be doing, and I'm like enjoying it too. It's not just like, oh, I'll go to the huddles and meet these students and that'll be it. It's like, oh well, there's more to it actually. Like go to games, building the relationship with the students and then actually reaching out outside of a huddle context or a sports context, and then getting to know them and meet them. FCA staff wise, like, and I honestly had no idea that there was an FCA staff, that there were people like in different regions. I thought it was just like volunteer kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm in the area, I'm just gonna go visit. That was it. I didn't realize like there's more to it that's going on behind the scenes, and for me, that's what I like. I like the behind the scenes things, and kind of how I view it. My expectation is, I mean, it's there's more I'm doing that I enjoy. There's more work that you have to put in, but it's more enjoyable. And yeah, it's like a lot of inward change.
Yeah, because it's not like a lot of people will think like, oh, like Gavin, Josh, they go to the huddles, they go to the games, but like even more on top of that, like you guys, it's not just a normal internship where it's like, hey, go move those boxes, go do these little things. It's like we are given the opportunity to like help plan and prepare huge events that FCA does yearly, like our student leadership retreat, like the revival week, and like we get to be a big part of that. And I don't think people get to see that of like we're basically working hand in hand with staff members to be able to do some amazing things in our community. And so yeah, we get to do a lot, and it's really fun. It's a blessing.
Well, that's a good segue. I think you should probably just share real quickly, maybe like, what do you do as an intern? Like, what does your week look like?
Yeah, weekly for me, as in being an intern, is like Sunday I'm figuring out and planning what huddles I'm going to throughout the week, which every huddle decides to meet like roughly the same 2 days, so it's like it's difficult, but I go through and I figure out, okay, what huddles meeting what day. So like on Wednesday, I will be going to Founders and Leander Middle School, and they're like right back to back to each other. So like Founders is at 7:30, Leander is at 8. So for me, I'm planning out my huddle. I'm going through those throughout the week, and then also right now stuff we're doing is we're getting prepped for our clay shoot meeting or clay shoot event Thursday, and I'm doing volunteer stuff, so I'm making sure we have the volunteers we need, and sending out emails to them. So throughout the week, I'm checking my email and making sure we have things done, and then also in between all that is meeting up with students if I have any students. Getting out to know them, especially like since like it's near the end of the school year, there's not much going on, but like the fall, football games, basketball games, getting out in the public and doing that on times where I'm not doing kind of emails and planning my schedule for the week, really.
Yeah, time management was a huge lesson we've both had to learn. On top of that, it's definitely seasonal. Like for instance, like this season, particularly leading into the summer, I'm starting preparations on kind of like planning and strategizing for our student leadership retreat. And so like for me, like alongside of that and school, like I'm having, there's some seasons where I'm a lot more in the field, and then there's some seasons where I've got a little bit more desk work where I'm actually getting to like strategize for the future and strategize for like, what do we want to see and how we want to see that. And so, yeah, Josh kind of laid it out pretty well.
That's good. Well, can you guys share just, I know that you mentioned school. Do you do you have time for, like, how does school fit into all that? And like, what school are you going to?
Yeah. So what I'm doing, and me and two other interns, we are doing a school called Grace School of Theology, based up in Houston, and they have local teams that they will send out. And their kind of mission and vision is to help equip people who are already in ministry, who are already doing the work, with easy, accessible, and cheap. Not cheap, sorry, but like cheaper and like very like cost effective is the word I'm looking for. Cost effective schooling, so I don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to a theology school, but instead I can come to my local cohort and I'm getting it recorded. Like I'm literally getting a Zoom call in on one day a week, and so for our schedules, like being an intern, like it's all over the place, and so being able to do that and have that, and especially alongside other interns, because we get to have that opportunity together. It's been very easy, but of course, making sure you're doing the homework, doing the things, like you have to be very on top of your calendar, because if you don't control your calendar is going to control you. And so yeah. So I think that's answering your question. It's so. Josh?
Yeah, I'm cooler, so I went to Liberty University.
I wouldn't
like Drew, fellow flame, and so I'm doing it online, and I'm currently doing a Bachelor's of Science in Religion. So two of my classes that I'll end up doing come fall and spring. I'll do like a whole class on Acts and Romans, which will be super cool. But yeah, doing Liberty University online, and I mean, yeah, filling it in with. I block out time throughout my day. Like, okay, this is the stuff I need to be doing in this time, and I do as much as I can in that time, and make sure I'm doing it every day. Space it out.
Let me just ask you a question before that carries on.
Yeah.
How many relationships with schools do you have typically on your beat, as it were?
Yeah, so for me in the Leander area, we have Danielson Middle School, Glen High School, Wiley Middle School, Rouse High School, as we're trying to get something in, Andrew mentioned earlier, Leander High School, Leander Middle School, Founders, Running Brushy, and then like Vista and Henry are in that with me as well. And for the most part, I think only like a small handful of those schools, Running Brushy, Rouse, are like the ones that we don't really have much connection with right now yet. But all the other schools we have connection with, and I try and meet up with those schools throughout the week.
Yeah,
it's quite a lot that you're juggling then, not just the schools, but your own schoolwork you'll be doing, plus all of the organization stuff with Slack and the FCA, plus your own kind of discipleship that you have as well. So it's pretty much a full-time role on everything you're doing. It's not just you're an intern, just rock up and do a couple of hours a week or a day. It's pretty much full
it's
on.
Also like, because me and Josh have been doing this for 2 years. And so when we started, though, it was very like ease into it. We both got private schools that we were kind of placed at that were already kind of established with like a presence. Like Slack had gone in and did all the handshaking, did all the really like planning of the seeds, and we kind of just watered the ground. And so when we kind of started, it was very simple school, go to a huddle, and then our personal discipleship. But as we've progressed, Slack has been doing a good job of like giving us more. And as we've matured, giving us more, because like before we didn't have time management skills. Like if we had this much on our plate before, it would have fell through, all of it. But Slack's been doing a good job of building that. And that's what's really cool about other interns is they probably hear all this stuff that we're doing and be like, I can't do that. And I would agree. I don't think you can. But Slack's done a really good job of building it up and making sure that he's not going to give you something you're not ready for. And so, we do a lot now, but it's because we've really been doing the work and preparing, and we've built to being able to do what we do now. No, so Cedar Park's a smaller kind of area. There's just so much happening in Cedar Park. So it's Cedar Park High School, Cedar Park Middle School, Summit Christian Academy, Hill Country, Bible School, and then Westwood and McNeil and all of their respective middle schools. I'm more familiar with the Cedar Park area, of course, and of course, like I'm still figuring out the middle schools for those areas, but there's just so much population in those handful of schools. But yeah, I'm very blessed that I don't have as much territory as this guy right here, because it seems like a lot.
Yeah, well, we talked on a previous podcast how big Williamson County is. So there's a lot of schools in a big area. Yeah, good stuff. All right, back to you, Slack.
Well, and it's just a side piece there that Josh serves with staff member Cassie Smith, who she was on last podcast. So her and Josh are really tag teaming a lot of those schools and kind of dividing and conquering in some ways, and kind of so in that way the work is shared. And the ideal is that full-time staff don't have any more than 3 to 5 schools. And so for an intern, like they said, they first got one school each to begin with their first year. And then I would say now they're more at 2 to 3 schools, but they're looking for those emerging leaders to train and disciple and build a relationship with. And let's see. What are some other questions? I just had one on my mind and I just forgot it after. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. I'll edit this part out. What do you guys enjoy? What do you guys enjoy most about just one thing? What is the thing that you enjoy most about this internship? And then, I'm just thinking about the future potential interns that come on, and like, what's the ideal candidate? Who should be considering this internship?
You want me to answer that, or you want to answer that?
You can go first.
Yeah. My favorite thing about this internship is really you get to be put where your gifts are in a way. It's not kind of like this is your place, stay in your lane, and don't go out. Like we had a new intern come on, David, who he's really good with social media. He's really good with kind of like the statistics of it. And I'm not even going to try to explain it because I have no idea how all that works. And like within a couple months, like David's now leading our Instagram page. He's leading our social media. And he's doing an incredible job. For me, I love the true discipleship in building leaders that build leaders, the multiplication aspect and training those like students. And so Slack graciously allowed me to spearhead our student leadership retreat. Of course, he was making sure he did a good job of like kind of staying over, like monitoring me and being like, okay, make sure this kid doesn't mess things up. But he's such a good job at like, he's very open-handed with things. He's not like, he doesn't keep it to himself and like, oh no, I don't want you to mess this up. He's very like, hey, what are your giftings? What makes you click? What makes you go? And he's really just like let us just dream. And that's why so many things has come up recently, because he's kind of just let that happen. Like this podcast, for instance, like I had an idea for a podcast. Well, now
this is Drew's idea. No, I'm not taking any credit here.
Yeah, it was Drew's idea. And then so I was like, cool, let's do a podcast now. And so that's my favorite part about the internship. And kind of to answer, like, what are we looking for? Well, we like fat people. There's no easy way to put that. I mean, faithful, available, and teachable. Fat, not, I was going to say something weird eventually, and there it is.
Thinking, right, 35 minutes I need to start editing, but okay.
Yeah, so wait until now. But yeah, Josh, if you want to explain what fat means, that would be well appreciated. I'll pass the rock to you now. Good segue.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll explain it, but I'll get my piece. So
What's your favorite part, Josh?
I think for me right now has been, with how everything started up, me and Gavin being the guinea pigs of the internship. So pretty much everything what we were doing was were tests, and we were trying to figure out a result. And for me, I was at one place, and then I got moved over to like the land area. And this year, and right now, I've just been building relationships with the coaches and teachers that run the huddles at the schools, and then also working my way to slowly build relationships with the students so that something can come from that come next school year. I don't know what that might be, but right now I know like one of my favorite parts is just I get to get out of my comfort zone. I'm more introverted, so I kind of have to grow a little bit and go out of my way to meet these people and talk to students. And another thing I also like about the internship has been the growth like that I've personally experienced. Like it's an inevitable factor of growth, and the amount of things that I have kind of gone through throughout this internship and have grown from it has been great. So yeah.
Would you add anything else to? Sorry, Drew.
No, I was just going to just say that, just from my perspective, what's really interesting, the things you just said, is that an intern isn't just one personality type, right? And you can be extrovert, you can be introvert, you can have certain skills which will elevate you in a certain area, and I think that's worth noting, that it's not so much about who you think you are, but like you said earlier, Josh, is how God is going to use you and your skills for the task. So you can be introverted, and it may be difficult for you maybe to relate to more people, and it takes a lot of effort to do that. But there will also be something within that there's a quiet connection you can make with other people, right? And so it doesn't always have to be a loud internship like Gavin, who's a little louder and more, more buoyant in all of this stuff. But it's all of these things, and I think what I really appreciate you both is that as a combined force, you are an excellent team, right? You really complement each other extremely well. And I've seen that in everybody else that Slack brings in, is that everybody has a personality and skills and the things that they are very, very good at, but all together you kind of all work really well. And I think that goes to Slack's organization skills, but also seeing the ability in the person and what they can bring to the ministry. And I think that's just fantastic that you've brought that. And there's going to be many more interns that also bring their skills, whether they be quiet skills or, the Michael loud skills, right? You're going to have this spectrum from, wow, this guy is incredibly excited about everything, to more of a quiet kind of contemplation.
Yeah, good plug. I was going to ask Josh one more, just if you had anything else to add for any students or parents listening, as far as who is that ideal candidate for an intern.
I think what first comes to mind for me is, when I hear this idea of an ideal candidate, I think, and I know some people think it's like, oh, you got to be these things. But I mean, I don't really think it's that. Really, it's more of just, for me, I wanted to do ministry, and I didn't plan on going to school. I was here in the area. I had an opportunity and time to put some effort into FCA, and I wanted to grow and learn, and I think those qualities are kind of just stuff we want to see, stuff we look for, and I see that in a lot of students. A lot of students just, they have passion, they have a desire to grow and learn, and a lot of that is found a lot of it can be found in, FCA role as an intern. I don't think it's this ideal of these checkmark lists, but just someone who really loves Jesus and understands that, a lifelong journey with Christ is time to grow and learn, and that can be found at FCA. Because I don't know if I don't know. Who knows if I stay in FCA forever or if I don't. I think, Slack talks about it a lot, and, tries to remind us and our team that, what we're doing with FCA is just, we're partaking in what God has given us, and, just fueling the flame that is in every one of us. So it's like, if I ended up, come the end of, May or whatever, or come the end of next year, I'm like, I don't know if where God wants me as an FCA anymore. I think he's calling me somewhere else. It's okay. Let's help you get there. We want students and whoever that wants to be an intern to just grow in Christ, and love his people and love his church and love those around us that aren't with us. So
you definitely said that a lot better than I did.
That's what I meant.
There you go. Exactly.
I tell these guys in my team that, like, really, I think I view my job as a fan, and I'm just here to fan into flame what God put inside of each of them. And my job is to just hopefully help identify and encourage and spur one another on. And I say, we just happen to work for FCA. We just happen to have an internship program. Do you want to be a part of it? Because, and I've told this to Josh specifically that, if he's still with FCA in 10 years, then I haven't done my job, because where I believe Josh will be is a lead pastor type, at a church maybe. So I want to get him there. Wherever there is, I want to get him there. The internship program was never meant to be to fulfill a role in the ministry necessarily. It was to develop young people into what God's calling them to be and to do. So that's the driver. One other little note that I'll make on the internship for anybody who's listening is it also was designed with the local church in mind. I came from on staff from a local church, and the interns all are connected to a local church and serve in the student ministry. And so we really want there to be this bridge between the school and the church for students to get connected on either end. And so all of these guys are connected to local churches, and then we're trying to build a network, with other local churches and youth pastors to get an intern, to serve in their church and the schools. And so that's just another little piece I'll add. What else, Drew? What else do we ask these guys?
Nothing from me. I want to get rid of them.
You only got me for a couple more minutes.
They're making us look
Gotta talk to my assistant if you want more time.
Yeah, we've run out of money. We can't pay them any more Slack.
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, don't talk to me about fundraising.
That's another day. But anything you wanted to add, guys, about encouraging people to apply for becoming an intern?
Yeah, it's great. We got a great few guys. Hoping for some new girls here soon. To kind of broaden out our reach. But I think FCA is a great choice. If you have the opportunity to come join us, whether you're graduating high school and you don't know what you're going to do for college, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you and just see if this is something you want to do. And if you're outside of, if you're a young adult, come check us out as well. We want to grow our reach. We want to see God move in our area, and we just want to see people come to know Christ. And if you think that is you and wanting to see that as well, reach out to us, because that's the one quality I think is a big wide eye kind of yes, let's talk to you kind of deal. So
Anything to add, Gavin?
You said it. I'll probably say something silly. Can't top that. That was good.
See,
Lakers and 5.
you complement
Lakers
each
and
other
5.
well. All right. Anything else from you, Slack, before I throw them out?
Nah, get back to work. That's all.
Yeah, you're right. Seriously. All right, guys. It was fun.
Yeah, it's great talking to you both. So thanks for that. And until next time, he's gone. Till next time, Josh, the sensible one of the two. We appreciate you, and we tolerate the other one.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all. Thank y'all.
All right, fellas. See you again soon. Bye. Bye.
Nice.
All right. God, so much good.
That was
Barely gone. It's quieter now.
Well, you get
Bit
to
more
see a little
peace.
picture of my week, my day, dealing with those guys.
How do you deal with them? I mean,
You should go through my phone log, my call log, and see how many times those guys call or text me in a given week.
I
And
can
what
imagine.
time of day. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I think, you know, having your two young children have prepared you to dealing with those two.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
Yeah, I feel like I have 2 adult children, 2 little ones, for sure. My poor wife, she has to deal with all of it, so including me.
yeah. So if anybody is interested in internship and become an intern, how do they contact you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, probably for the students, it's going to be through our Instagram, DMing us on the Instagram, wilco.fca. We've got 2 applicants we're interviewing for the second time this Wednesday. We're hoping to get, we're gonna close it down at the end of the school year. When we go into summer, we want to have the people on the team that are going to be on the team for next school year. So if you're interested, there's still time. We've got a couple more opportunities. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right. I know we're pushing the time, and I know that I have a question that Cassie sent me.
Oh,
Did you
yes.
know that?
The apologetics question.
She sent me a question, and it's like takes 10 minutes just to read the question.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
It's a great question, but if you want to, we can dive into that, and then hopefully we won't take up too much time.
Yeah.
But it will be a little bit of a long one. So as usual, you can either fast forward or go grab a drink, which might take a bit
Yeah,
of
I'm
time.
anxious to hear it.
Oh my gosh! But you know what we didn't do last time,
Yeah.
Slack?
What did you get?
I didn't play my walkout.
Yeah, you got to
music.
play your walkout music.
I got to have my intro. It's my highlight of my
People
day. Having my intro, it makes me feel like kind of important. It's the only time in my
Play it.
life I ever do.
And now,
Your questions answered.
by the unapologetic apologist,
Drew Coster.
All right, so let me read this question that Cassie sent me.
Okay.
This comes from Vista Ridge. So whoever you are from Vista Ridge that asked this question, I'm super grateful. It's very thoughtful, and whoever asked it is very, very smart, very, very on top of things kind of question. So let me read it out, and we'll see where we go, because it's like a 4-part question, to be honest. Okay, so here goes. What makes a core doctrine, and are they necessary for saving faith? For example, Mormons believe in Jesus, but many think they aren't saved because of difference in core doctrine. Every denomination has a different idea of what doctrines are core or necessary for salvation. So how can we know what's right and wrong if each person interprets the Bible differently? What do you think of that question,
Wow.
Slack?
That's a great question.
That's a great question, right?
The student answered that or asked that?
From somebody from Vista Ridge.
Man.
I know, right? When was the last
These
time
are
you
the
had?
students. They're incredibly intelligent, insightful, aware students out there.
I know. Because I'm thinking, when's the last time anyone really sat down and talked about doctrine?
Yeah.
Right.
He's thinking about doctrine at the age of 16.
Yeah, exactly. So as it was a very thoughtful question, let me try and give a thoughtful response to these like 4 parts of this question. So let's start with a simple definition, okay? Doctrine comes from the Latin doctrina, meaning teaching, which is a fantastic word, doctrina. And in Greek, the word is didache. And we see this throughout the New Testament with Paul's letters, especially to Timothy and Titus, where he talks about sound doctrine. So doctrine is simply what the church teaches, and that includes a wide range of topics like the doctrine of grace, the doctrine of church leadership, the doctrine of sin. Now, all these doctrine are important, but not all doctrine carry the same weight. And I'll talk about why that is in a minute.
And real quick, a doctrine, are you, just for the listeners, like doctrine, are you talking about something that's in the Bible or outside of the Bible?
It's all teaching. Doctrine is all teaching. It's like everything that's in the Bible, every topic is a doctrine. Right? So like I say, that from anything from, the doctrine of grace, the doctrine of salvation, the doctrine of church leadership. We just call it doctrine because in its simplest terms, doctrine, it refers to the essential truths of the Bible, right? So everything that the Bible teaches. So doctrine, teaching, yeah. And all of these things really, as I say, there's levels of doctrine. There's like a tertiary, secondary doctrine, but then there's also core doctrine, which is what this question is about. And so in its simplest terms, I would say core doctrine really refers to those essential truths of the gospel, meaning who Jesus is and how we are saved. And the historic church has often referred to these as core doctrine, but you might have heard the word dogma. So core doctrine are essentially dogma. And these are core teachings that have been consistently recognized as essential and non-negotiable for the Christian faith. So let's be really, 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 really clear on what core doctrines are. These are teachings that have been consistently recognized as essential and non-negotiable for the Christian faith. Now, non-negotiable doesn't mean people never debate the core doctrine because they have for centuries. But it does mean that they cannot be redefined without changing their meaning. And that's important. So hold on to that thought. They cannot be changed without changing their meaning. So what do core doctrine look like? Well, you would know it as the gospel pretty much, Slack, but I like to call these the bullet doctrines. These are doctrines I would take a bullet for before I deny them, right? So let's go through them. These aren't all of the core doctrines of the church because there are more, but these are the essential core doctrines, okay? See how many of these agree with? 1. God is one in essence, existing eternally as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So God is one in essence, existing eternally as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That is number 1. That is non-negotiable. That means you cannot redefine who God is, and therefore God is the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. 2, Jesus is the incarnate Son of God, born of a virgin. 3, Jesus lived a sinless life. 4, Jesus died on the cross for our sins. 5, Jesus was raised from the dead. 6, Jesus reigns as King and Judge of the world. 7, humanity is fallen and needs redemption. And 8, which is probably the most contentious one between Protestants, Roman Catholics, and Orthodox, but generally they would all agree on this. The wording may change a little differently, though. 8, salvation is by grace, received through the repentance, faith, and ongoing allegiance to Christ. So would you say that they're pretty core, Slack?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking how many religions would probably have an issue with some of those. And you mentioned right at the gate, like Mormonism, and so I don't know if is there.
So that's why they're core, right? So the question asks, are they essential to saving the faith? And I would say yes. What would you say?
Yeah, they seem like they all kind of fold in on each other. Like if one doesn't, it feels like it kind of falls out of the place there.
Exactly. So core doctrines are important and they're non-negotiable because they act as guardrails around the identity of Jesus and the gospel story. So if those core doctrines, like you say, if they're changed or redefined, you don't just get a slightly different theology, you get a completely different story. And a different story leads to a different understanding of salvation. So let me give you a simple analogy that might kind of land. And if it doesn't, my apologies. It's like if you have a bowl of chocolate ice cream, right? You know what chocolate tastes like.
Oh, yeah.
It's unmistakable. It's chocolatey, right? It's rich. It's wonderful. Now imagine someone gives you a bowl of strawberry ice cream and calls it chocolate. Would you know something's wrong the moment you taste it?
Absolutely.
Right. But they might both be made of cream, right? They both are cold and they both are served in a bowl, but strawberry slack is not chocolate, right? So in the same way, when someone changes who Jesus is, they are no longer talking about the same Jesus. Even if they use the same names or similar events and they look very familiar, they're not the same Jesus. And so that's the same kind of difference that happens when Jesus of the Bible is replaced by an alternative version. So if we go back to the question, and she asks, I assume it's a she because it's a very smart question. Mormons believe in Jesus, so why do some Christians say they aren't saved? Because the Jesus of the Latter-day Saints is strawberry, right? And I won't go too deeply into their theology because that will take too much time, and we can do that maybe another day. But on the surface, the Latter-day Saints' beliefs can look very similar to historic Christianity. They do actually affirm Jesus was born of a virgin. He lived a sinless life and he died and rose again. So what's the problem? Well, the difference comes down to who God is and who Jesus is. Remember when we talked about the core doctrine, the first one, God is one in essence. And he existed eternally as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So in the LDS teaching, God, Jesus, and humanity are understood in ways that are different, significantly different from the historical Christian view of one eternal God and the unique, uncreated Son. And as I said earlier, if you change the identity of God, you change the identity of Jesus. And if you change the identity of Jesus, you change the gospel. And if you change the gospel, you are changing the terms of salvation. There's no getting around that. Strawberry is not chocolate. No matter how much you want to think it is and how much you say it is, strawberry is not and never will be chocolate.
Even if you say it in an English accent.
Even in an English accent or an American accent. It doesn't matter your accent. Strawberry is still strawberry and chocolate is still chocolate. You know, and Christians, we don't say to Mormons, you're not saved because we want to be mean. You're not being dismissive. The concern is that when you change the identity of God and Jesus, you redefine the message, and what you believe is no longer the same gospel found in Scripture.
So what do we do if we've got friends that believe in something other than what we believe as Christians? How would use this example? What would you do, Drew?
Well, you could tell them, here's a bowl of chocolate ice cream. It tastes way better than strawberry. That's the first way of doing it. No, I think, you know, this will be probably a subject we come back to a little bit more because it is quite difficult. Because when people have a belief, they're very resistant to changing their mind, right? So all we can do in many ways is just kind of break things down into the simplest terms, right? So if we have a different Jesus, we have a different gospel, we have a different salvation. And that's why core doctrine matters, right? Because these are the central truths of Scripture as understood by the church for 2,000 years, right? So the question also stated, every denomination has a different idea of what doctrines are core. I think on the surface that seems true, but that's not quite. Most Protestant, Roman Catholic, and Orthodox traditions broadly agree on the central truths about God, Jesus, and salvation. They all believe in the same eternal Jesus. They all believe in the same eternal God, and they all believe in the same eternal salvation. Where they differ is in what I would call secondary doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
And in many ways, you can think of doctrine as like a archery target, right? You've seen those. Red center, then the rings go outwards. So we can think about that. The bullseye is Christ. And then around that bullseye is the next ring, and that's the unchangeable truths about who he is and what he has done. That's our core doctrine. And then around these are our secondary and then tertiary doctrines. And these are areas where, yes, Christians do disagree, maybe a little bit too much, but they're on subjects such as the end of times, predestination and election, baptism, spiritual gifts, styles of worship. These differences do matter, but do they redefine the gospel? No, they do not redefine the core doctrine. So that's important. It's okay to have disagreements, but as long as those disagreements do not redefine the core central truths of who God and Jesus are. So
that's good. That could become some follow-up questions for us in later episodes,
Yeah,
really.
For sure. Well, this question is still not finished because it went on a bit, right? Remember, then the question said, how can we know right from wrong if people interpret the Bible differently? And I think that's a really great question. And like I say, that's probably a longer conversation at some point. But it's true that Scripture does require interpretation. But the core doctrine have been consistently affirmed across the church throughout centuries. So if any interpretation contradicts the core truths of who God is and who Jesus is, it has moved outside the gospel. And that's why Paul says in Galatians 1:8, but even if we or an angel from heaven should proclaim to you a gospel contrary to what we have proclaimed to you, he is to be accursed. Paul is clear. The gospel is not something we get to reinvent. And that's what the Latter-day Saints, Jehovah's Witness, and Islam have all done. They've all redefined who Jesus is. Therefore, they have all redefined salvation. So when it comes to different ideas about salvation, core doctrine isn't just about being right in an argument. It's about knowing who Jesus truly is, because if we get Jesus wrong at the core of who he is, we don't just miss a small detail. We miss the gospel itself. And that's why core doctrine matters. And that's why core doctrine is non-negotiable for salvation. Here endeth the lesson on doctrines.
Man. Well said. That's going to be really good for somebody. I mean, like I said, I think follow-up.
That was like a 10-minute answer.
I know, but still,
Gosh.
there's going to be some good follow-up to that, I think. I hope there's some good follow-up questions.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's a complex situation when you're talking to, especially LDS. I think LDS, because in my experience, they're the most wonderful people I've really ever met. They're so nice, and they have a real heart for Jesus. But it's like, your Jesus is strawberry. That's not the same. That's not the same Jesus.
Yeah.
All right, brother. So let's wrap up, because over an hour is not good for anyone's mental health. So anything you want to add before we close?
No, just I really am proud of Josh and Gavin. I know we joke a lot about them, but I really look up to those guys in a lot of ways, and I'm proud of them. And I know that a lot of students look up to them too. And so I think, I want to find more Josh and Gavins out there, and empower them, equip them, so pretty cool. good to have those guys on.
Great. Yeah. And one last question for you. As we go into May, is there anything significant that's coming up in May that you want people to know about?
There are a few things. We have Teacher Appreciation Week next week. We'll be dropping off gifts for all of our huddle leaders. So if you see a teacher,
nice.
Give them a high five,
Yeah.
Tell them thank you. They do an amazing job in our schools, and they don't get enough credit, and thanks. So, and then we've got our big 7-on-7 middle school football tournament on May 16th. So if you are a 6th, 7th, 8th grader, we've got registration. It's free. We got a UT football player coming out to share his testimony, and then all day football. So that'll be a fun Saturday in the middle of May. And then, like I said, wrapping up school, kind of breaking for the summer and getting into planning season for next school year.
Great.
Yeah.
And as always, people can always email you at aslack@fca.org.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to get involved or ask you questions. And then there's the website, fcaaustin.org, where you can hopefully sign up for the newsletter, if that's working well.
Yeah.
But any way you can, even, on YouTube where we have this video, leave a comment if you need us to contact you or anything like that, or pray for you. We're more than happy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, brother. Let's call this a day. And let's meet again in another few weeks.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Drew.
All right, man.
See you guys.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.